Icelandic fishermen have hunted Greenland sharks or other sleeper sharks for centuries. These massive sharks, which can weigh up to 2,200 pounds and grow over 20 feet, are pulled from the icy North Atlantic using long lines. Shark fishing is tough, and their meat is toxic when fresh due to high levels of uremic acid that can make you vomit blood. To make it eatable, the shark is first gutted and beheaded, then fermented in wooden boxes for 6 to 12 months. This process leaches out the harmful toxins, transforming the meat into its signature pungency. Once the shark has fermented, it's cut into pieces and hung in open-air drying sheds, exposed to the brisk Icelandic wind to evaporate the uremic acid. This drying stage can last another 6 months until the meat shrinks around 3 times its normal size. Then it has a hard, crusty exterior. The secret to making high-quality fermented shark: location and tradition. In the town of Bjarnarfon, one family has mastered this craft, passing down the knowledge for generations. Icelanders claim that if the ammonia sting them in late May and harvest them in September, the yield is 2.0 to 3.0 tons per hectare, and farmers use combines to efficiently collect the beans. Once harvested, the azuki beans undergo a detailed process and transform them into the sweet red bean paste, known as anko, a key ingredient in Japanese desserts. The beans are first soaked in water to soften, then boiled for hours to break down the starch. During boiling, the water is drained and replaced multiple times to remove impurities and bitter compounds. After boiling, sugar is added, typically around 1 pound of sugar per 2 pounds of beans, to create a rich, smooth consistency. The mixture is then mashed into a paste, with different textures based on the type of anko desired, smooth or chunky. In Japan, over 100,000 tons of anko are consumed annually. Besides taiyaki, another beloved street food that incorporates anko is dorayaki, a sweet pancake sandwich filled with red bean paste. Dorayaki consists of 2 fluffy, honey-sweetened pancakes that encase the smooth, sweet anko. With over 300 million dorayaki sold annually, it's clear that this simple yet delicious snack holds a special place in Japanese food culture. Have you ever tried Japanese-style matcha Mont Blanc madness? It is a sponge cake or ice cream cone topped with chestnut puree and matcha cream, piped in strings around the entire exterior. Most matcha street food's journey begins if you stroll through the bustling streets of Nara or Tokyo. You'll find vendors pounding sticky rice with large wooden mallets, creating the iconic chewy treat called mochi right there before your eyes. Mochi makers work in rhythmic unison super fast for around 2 minutes in a process called mochitsuko. This dates back over 1,000 years. Once done, the mochi is sent to a machine that forms and fills them up with red bean paste. Finally, each mochi is coated with a roasted soybean powder by hand. One famous stall in Nara produces over 1,500 pounds of mochi each week, much of it consumed during New Year's celebrations. Only the sticky rice variety, called mochikome, is used for making mochi. Regions like Niigata are where some of the world's best rice is grown, and over 17 million tons of rice are harvested annually. Producers here use advanced combine harvesters, collecting 2,000 pounds of rice per acre. Once harvested, the first step is to remove the outer husk using traditional milling methods. From there, the rice kernels are washed and ground with water. Next, they are centrifuged to be completely dry, and the resulting bricks of rice flour are broken down into a powder called shiratamako. This process is done in many different ways in Japan. This is because rice flour production here is a massive industry, with factories processing over 1 million pounds daily. The texture of shiratamako is crucial. Too coarse and the mochi won't have that trademark softness. Too fine and it'll lose its chewiness. Besides mochi hits your nose just right, you've found the perfect hakari. While hakari's strong smell can pack a serious punch, it's nothing compared to shrimp paste. This could be a torture to you, but many people in Southeast Asia, especially in places like Thailand, Vietnam, and Malaysia, consider it a staple of their diet. It's used as a seasoning or dipping sauce for noodles, pig trotters, and fried dishes. Small shrimp, often no longer than an inch, are the main ingredient to make shrimp paste. These are caught during the hottest month, yield the paste with the richest flavour, thanks to their firm texture and high oil content. Once harvested, shrimp are quickly salted, about 70 to 90 pounds of shrimp per 10 pounds of salt. The mixture is ground or powdered into a paste and left in containers from anywhere for 6 to 12 months. Each year, over 300,000 tons of shrimp are harvested in Vietnam for paste production only. Throughout this time, workers stir the paste occasionally to expose it to air, developing its signature stinkiness. The process of breaking down the shrimp intensifies as the temperatures reach over 90 degrees Fahrenheit. The result, a smooth, pungent paste with a purple hue that locals describe as a delicious stink. To prepare this dipping sauce, locals mix it with a bit of hot oil, sugar, kumquat juice, and chili to taste. When it fizzes up like this, try some tofu and give it a go. The last contender for the world's stinkiest food is Japan, with this fermented soybean dish called natto. What makes natto so special is its sticky texture, strong aroma, and powerful where the winter feast is centered around kiviak, a fermented dish made from buried bird-stuffed seals. And the best part is that it has been eaten raw for centuries. To create kiviak, up to 500 small auks, a type of seabird native to the Arctic, are caught. Hunters often use a traditional net around 3 meters long called a kalut during the brief summer season when the auks flock to coastal cliffs. Seals are hunted for their thick skin, which acts as a natural fermenting vessel. This seal's skin is carefully cleaned, the meat is removed, and the fat is kept inside to make the bird's meat tender and prevent infestation by maggots. Auks are stuffed into a hollowed out seal carcass, feathers and all. Then the seal skin is sewn tight and buried in a very shallow pit under heavy stones with the seam facing upward to ferment for at least 6 months. When the process is over, the sutures are cut and the bird's feathers are removed, but the rest might be consumed raw. This traditional delicacy has a powerful aroma and a sharp, gamey flavour, with texture similar to a strong aged Italian blue cheese. Primarily meat eaters, the locals rely on kiviak and muktuk, pieces of whale skin with blubber, as a vital vitamin source, especially during the harsh winter months when other sustenance is scarce. Don't rush into thinking kiviak is the worst though, because Icelanders have something that can beat it. A fermented shark with a pungent aroma of ammonia called hakiri. Can you guess its flavour? It's actually sweet, nutty, and only faintly fishy. Intense fermentation process results in a smell so powerful that you don't want to eat it indoors. Maybe that's why is traditionally enjoyed during midsummer celebrations, not winter in Sweden. The journey to create surströmming begins with the humble Baltic herring, typically weighing between 8 to 4 ounces and locally known as strömming. Swedish fishermen often harvest herring from April to May, when their fat content is highest, around 16 to 18%. This is super essential for the fermentation process. The whole fish is lightly salted. For the first 4 hours, they are constantly stirred. Then they may be beheaded, gutted, and packed into airtight barrels, where they ferment for roughly 6 to 8 weeks at a temperature of 37 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. The fish are then canned, and this is where the fermentation process continues very slowly for several more months until they hit the market. Each can bulges slightly due to the continued fermentation, so it's safer to open underwater or with a covering. A popular way to enjoy it is in a dish called surströmming sklama, where the fish is layered on thin flatbread and topped with boiled potatoes, onions, and sour cream. Most people say the flavour is considerably better than the smell, often described as very salty and slightly acidic. If you want to spice up your Christmas, go to Greenland. Takoyaki is another common Japanese street food that uses rice flour as the main ingredient. It consists of small batter balls filled with diced octopus, cooked to perfection in special cast iron pans. Street vendors flip hundreds of these bite-sized treats daily, serving them hot with a generous drizzle of tangy takoyaki sauce and a sprinkle of bonito flakes. Taiyaki, a fish-shaped pastry filled with sweet red bean paste, is one of Japan's most beloved street foods. Street vendors start making the batter, a mix of flour, eggs, sugar, and baking powder. The batter is poured into cast iron molds shaped like a fish. Then a spoonful of red bean paste is placed in the center. A thinner layer of batter is added to the row next to it before closing the mold and grilling the taiyaki until golden and fragrant. Vendors sell thousands of these treats daily during festivals, with an estimated 1 million taiyaki consumed every year across Japan. This increasing rate of consumption has made red beans, known as azuki, a staple crop in Japan. In 2022 alone, Japan produced over 123,000 tons of azuki beans, about 89% of which came from Hokkaido in Japan. Here, the growing period of azuki beans is 100 to 140 days, so farmers typically plant beans in Shizuoka Prefecture's tea fields, where green tea cultivation dates back to 1241. Farmers use a modern mower to harvest only the youngest, most tender leaves to speed up the process about 20 to 30 times when compared to hand picking. The leaves used for matcha come from tea plants that are grown under shade for the last 3 weeks before harvest. This practice increases chlorophyll levels, giving the leaves their vivid green color and enhancing their flavor profile. In 2023 alone, Japan produced nearly 80,000 tons of green tea, with Shizuoka Prefecture accounting for over 40% of that total. The tea leaves are processed within the same day because their taste can quickly change. First, they are steamed and refrigerated to prevent oxidation, preserving their green color. Then, the steam leaves are dried. Unlike other teas, where the leaves are rolled or crushed, matcha tea leaves are left flat, resulting in a smoother taste. After drying, the stems and veins are removed, leaving only the pure leaf, which is called tencha, and ground into a fine powder using traditional stone mills. rotating slowly to maintain quality. 1 mill can produce just 1 ounce of matcha per hour. This long process results in matcha that can cost anywhere from $2 to $40 per ounce. Another well-known matcha street food that incorporates matcha is the matcha crepe. It is made from a thin, crispy crepe batter infused with a vibrant green matcha powder. It is often filled with sweet ingredients like red bean paste, whipped cream, or fruit, and rolled up for easy eating on the go. The smell of roasted sweet potatoes, or yaki imo, is one that you can never ignore. Street vendors will often roast them in large stone ovens or traditional wood-fired drums, where the temperature is carefully monitored to stay at around 350 degrees Fahrenheit. This slow cooking process caramelizes the natural sugars inside, creating a sweet, tender interior and a crispy, slightly charred exterior. Each potato takes about 90 minutes to roast, and the aroma draws in hungry customers. In top-tier street markets, customers can pay as much as $5 for a single potato weighing around a pound. These treats are often enjoyed in the cooler months, with demand peaking during Japan's fall and winter festivals. Japan produces over 700,000 tons of sweet potatoes annually, with the Kagoshima region, home to rich volcanic soil, being the largest producer. It takes them up to 5 months to grow sweet potatoes, and the sweetness that makes yaki imo irresistible begins during the harvest, when the starches convert to sugars as the temperature drops in the fall. Farmers across Japan harvest an estimated 3,000 pounds of sweet potatoes per acre, and the most varied varieties are kept for premium street food stalls, where quality is everything. There are many other popular street foods that highlight the versatility of sweet potatoes, like dagayuko omo and fried sweet potato balls. These dishes are particularly beloved in Tokyo, where it originated in the early 1900s. Just imagine smelling a sweaty sock in a seafood market. Now multiply that by 10. That's what a smelly, Swedish fermented herring dish called surströmming smells like. This is a source of vitamin K, making it Japan's superfood for all ages, with it helping to reduce mortality rates by 10%. The journey of natto begins with the careful cultivation of soybeans in Japan's countryside. Only the small, round soybeans, known as natto mame, are selected for fermentation. After harvesting, soybeans are cleaned and soaked in water for 18 hours to soften and absorb moisture. Then they double in size. The softened soybeans are steamed in a large pot for an hour until they reach a tender consistency at around 248 degrees Fahrenheit. While it's still hot, the whole batch is inoculated with Bacillus subtilis, a bacteria strain essential for soybean fermentation. In Japanese, this bacteria is called nattokin. Japan produces around 200,000 tons of soybeans each year, with a portion dedicated exclusively to natto production. It's then packaged immediately, placed in a warm, humid environment, typically around 104 degrees Fahrenheit, before being left to ferment for 18 to 24 hours. The Japanese consume over 55,000 tons of natto annually. Once fermentation is complete, the natto is matured at a lower temperature for 2 days to stop the fermentation process, before being labelled and shipped across Japan and to specialty stores worldwide. Some regions of Japan, like Ibaraki, are famous for producing natto that's slightly sweeter, while others may yield a sharper, earthier taste. This factory in Ibaraki produces around 12,000 to 15,000 packs of natto a day. Natto is often mixed with soy sauce, mustard, or green onions to complement its earthy, savory, and slightly bitter flavor. The beans become sticky, forming long, stringy threads when stirred. If you would like to try a common Japanese breakfast with natto, serve natto over steamed rice, pair it with miso soup, or add it to sushi for an extra layer of complexity.